Hi, everybody. Welcome to Serious Topics. Today, we're going to be having a walkthrough of Vanessa Conte's exhibition, Swell, that she made specifically for this occasion. This is a continuation of the Adventures of Amy. She's a fictional protagonist who is from the artist nautical comic Amy Thrilled to Live. In this particular iteration, Amy is on a ship and her crew is mutinied and they are beating her. And she can take it. So, anyways, I know Vanessa just through the kind of UCLA community, art community in LA, and the first time I saw her work was at Kristen Cunningham's space. What was that called? Household. Mm-hmm. Beautiful paintings. And then she was in our dollhouse. She was in our dollhouse show with a tiny painting, which I bought because I was obsessed with it. It was a little painting of someone in sort of one of those Japanese outfits, a woman being like beaten, and I just thought it was the most beautiful gem-like interesting thing, and then we had her in another thing and I bought that one too, so anyways, Vanessa, thank you so much for doing this. I think you're amazing. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Kristen. Thanks for being here. What a great group. I made this show because I was offered these incredible canvases. It wasn't my idea to make a show at this scale, but because I make this comic series, and as soon as Kristen emailed me the size of the canvases and said that they were putting on these surfaces, I just could not take the opportunity to make Amy's story unfold in color with oil paint. I'd never done that before at this, like with this level of intensity. So I'm so happy that I did. And in the Dollhouse show, the painting that you were talking about was also of Amy, the protagonist. And it's exciting to show these in Los Angeles because I've never really put the comic narratives out there. I don't tell visual stories in the traditional sense with captions under each image. There's some descriptive suggestions about what's going on and the background of the protagonist, but all of the imagery comes from a lot of drawings of the body and wanting to see the body take shapes that I've never seen the body take before and react to not only the cell of the comic, and in this case, the shape of the canvases, but also how it's all about what happens to the body in its interaction with the outside world, whether that's a human being or a tree or a fish or the water or something. And it's so the underpinning, if a lot of people ask me that, is it about, S&M, and is it about, sure, it's about that. It's about enduring any everyday life. I think I said to Josh the other day, Amy's body is your body, and I know in the past 10 years, it's kind of hard to say this cute, fleshy blonde girl is you, but it is. And so, I picked this character because she is she kind of arose out of a combination of interactions at, the formative years of growing up in Long Island and all of the girls and women I knew at the time, and all of the things that any person went through at that time, and then transitioning through adulthood, and then realizing that we come across these types of situations no matter how old we are at any stage. So I think your body is Amy's body and vice versa. So I don't necessarily have a specific narrative that isolates Amy's situations into any particular historical point. So these paintings came from wanting to generate the imagery and story for the next volume of Amy Thrilled to Live. And the last page of Amy Thrilled to Live, her roller derby team is like, you know what you need to get over yourself is to be abducted and not know where you're going. And she's like, all right, because she loves these situations, and kind of goes into them mindlessly. And so she is abducted. They bring her to Amityville, New York, to one of their friends' parents' house, and they take her on a boat called Aces, and they go off into the sea. And so that's the last. She kind of agrees to be like the boat wench or something, but it doesn't turn out that way. So she ends up encountering all sorts of things, including. So you don't see. I mean, you do see some of the crew. One of my favorites is like her getting the bait kind of squeezed over her face, which is really, that seems like, a visceral situation that like we've all been in before. I'm sure, figuratively speaking. There's the fishnet and then like fish guts kind of, so I think we can all imagine what that's like at any time. So she in this comic, eventually she's going to encounter like Mother Nature as an entity that comes through in the ocean and in the animals and in the other humans on the boat. But the humans are like the least offensive of the group. Whereas in the first volume of Amy, all of the people she's encountered, including her parents, are like, the things that are physically manipulating and shaping her the most, and the interactions there. But in the next volume, it's going to be more about what's happening in these paintings, which is like physical and emotional confrontation through struggle, strife. So these, like I said, these don't have any particular timeline. So we hung these together because they look nicer because the water is very present and she's interacting with one particular entity at a time. Whereas in the other paintings, there's more like, you can kind of lucidly go through, like she's having like more of an emotional situation shake up, so to speak, here, whereas in the others, there's more of an external stimulation. But I'm happy to hear any alternate interpretations that you have.
Oh, yeah. Can you talk about a few of the specific paintings?
Yeah, I think, so in this set, I know that I've not usually painted her in control of a situation before, and here, and this, like I said, is an experiment, so I really was interested in seeing how her body would be shaped, kind of trying to, the fish can't, could be a tuna. I'm not really good at fish anatomy, so whatever fish you can imagine. There is another person, a crew member here, but in this one, I wanted to see what it would be like if there was some kind of situation where she looked like she could potentially have the upper hand. There's kind of like with the fish, but not necessarily with the other crew members. So I'm kind of playing with the hierarchy here, which I haven't really done before. She's usually the one with the short end of the stick.
So when you say the hierarchy, the fish has a higher status than Amy?
No, here it's kind of there's like, the fish has been caught, it's kind of trapped here. She's already kind of has the upper hand by manipulating its body, but hers is also being, there's someone standing over here. So there's this kind of lower hierarchy between Amy and the fish.
And it's just like a brute physical kind of hierarchy.
It is. It's all physical. There's no background between, except for the storytelling.
Well, because she's the captain even. And the crew has like tied her up.
Yeah, in some of the paintings here, they've definitely caught her. So this would be, I'm not sure where in the story that will happen, but if you go back and forth between some of the diptychs, you'll see Amy in the same situation as the fish. And so this is why there's this pairing here, because she and the fish are equals in this situation. And so I like to, within the series of paintings, go back and forth between who's in control and who isn't.
She's in control here.
That is true. the thing is that her body is being crushed by the weight of the fish. And so she and the fish are kind of at the same level in the part on the right. But again, as I feel like in all of the works with Amy and in all of the physical situations, you can't really, yes, even though a figure or she is tied up or trapped, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're in the lower position.
Right.
As some people have said, you can wield a lot of power from the bottom, So I think, right? So more lessons learned, right? So I think that there's a lot to. You do?
Yeah, she can jump off the boat if she wants and end it, or maybe kill it, or
Yeah, maybe so. I think in a lot of these, I think there's an edge to what can and can't happen a few seconds after or a few seconds before, and that's why the body's always in motion in the paintings. I think only a few times, like I went to this one too because it maybe it's the only one that has a level of stillness. In my work, I usually don't have stillness. There's always some vibration, some movement. It's very important to me to have that. And I think that, this set here is one of the only times where it's like there's some kind of gravity that's being followed, like a principle of gravity that's actually holding people down. So again, the figures come from, or all the compositions, I should say, come from me seeing the body in a particular configuration or position or something that's impossible. So all of the figures, whether it's this work or the work that the larger works I make, all of the compositions come from wanting to see the body experience something or endure something that is not of our usual, of what we can see in everyday life. Except in this set, I feel like I tried to make it relatable sometimes, but in order to convey the story. But I don't necessarily think that any of these physical positions are really possible. So the drawings come through lots and lots of sketches of wanting to defy some kind of reality.
Vanessa, I was going to ask, what's really interesting on this tiny scale is just the intense cropping and the compositions they're just talking about. But you realize how many figures, actually, how many other elements are going on outside the frame. And like in these couple, there's someone here outside the frame. There's someone here kicking outside the frame. And maybe there's even someone on top. I felt like, oh my God, suddenly there actually is a crew. There are many people.
Yeah.
And then this one, the figure is being held. There's a foot here. I mean, to decipher these has taken time. This one actually just came. This is a foot and not a fish, or is this a?
It's a fin.
It is.
It's tail.
Oh, it's a tail.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because it almost went either way. It's a tail on a tail. Okay. But it almost.
They're one.
But they're one. But there were elements there that they were all slipping. So
yeah.
I just felt like there was enough sort of strangeness, incongruity. It's strange things that were happening, but really holding the action also. So what you're talking about with movement.
Yeah.
And vibration, and then trying to make that solid in a way, or real, it's very interesting.
Yeah. And the disorientation you're talking about is something that I don't consciously set up until a certain point in the composition where I'm like, oh, well, there's too much, kind of like if you're shooting, I've never shot a film in my life, but kind of like if you're having someone create some special effect outside the shot and suddenly you see too much and the magic is gone. Yeah. So it's in a way, the way I think of cropping is how can I maximize the identification with her disorientation? How can I try and evoke that from the person looking on a piece of paper with a full comic based on what's before and after. But like, that's why this series of paintings was a challenge, a good positive challenge for me, because I was like, oh, they're going to experience these singularly.
Because that's why we are Amy. So
Yeah.
we get to feel as disoriented as whatever's going on in there, and the ground is unstable. And I love that too, and everything is like really going off the horizon line.
Yeah, action. And so I feel I don't. I know obviously in like the huge history of painting, there are many moments where action and imagining movement happening and trying to capture it in a two-dimensional space is, people have tried to get that, and I think, to me, luckily it has failed, because that's the thing. Not because it's like something to achieve, but because it's paint, you can. It's like always aspirational in some way, that like you want to capture this thing, and I feel like that kind of failure in the positive way, not in the American way, as that kind of failure is something that really is underneath all of the work that I do. And this idea, and Amy was created in order to push that to the foreground of my practice, to have that as content, this like aspiration to try and capture something, because it's a feeling, and it's like sometimes it's an intense feeling, whereas other times it's ridiculous. And so I feel like emotional slippage is something that I'm also very interested in, perhaps metaphorically, because I laugh at these works all the time. And so humor is very, very important to me. I think it's wonderful when people have come to me and said, like, I really feel the struggle that Amy's going through. And I'm like, yeah, but did you laugh the whole time? Because like, this is something like, I try to push that in the work, but honestly, making oil paintings and personally struggling with trying to make it funny, I didn't realize how hard that was. Like, how many people make funny paintings? And there are people who do, and we know some of them. But I think that it's really a hard history, and could be a difficult medium to try and convey something like humor. So you have to do it with metaphor and exaggeration and things like that.
So good. Karen.
Hi. So I'm just curious, like the paintings that are placed together, like, do you consider that like one piece? Like, did you create those paintings to go together, or is it more like an act of curation that's happening?
I did create them together, although I wasn't opposed to them being separated when they came into the space. But I did create them so that there would be like what happens in the comics, where you can imagine the cut, like in a moving picture, like, you see a shot wide of Amy strapped to the fish, and then suddenly you see her in the next, like in that position, being struggled with like a fish. And so I think I put them together to push the objectification of that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the name of the boat?
Oh, the name of the boat is Aces. So.
Have you ever been psychoanalyzed with it? Have you ever been psychoanalyzed about the fish? Has the fish been a subject of any analysis? And the hook? Like, I'm just curious.
No, but I'm just engaging deeply with Jungian psychology. So I'm sure the Jungians would have something to. Does anyone here have any background in?
I mean, the water's the unconscious.
Yes.
And the fish, I don't know. It's living in the unconscious. I don't know.
I feel like it's an event, and it could either hold like, obviously potential, but I think that when I've heard people talk about like seeing specific fish like whales or dolphins, I think there's been analysis there. But I don't know what some kind of tuna adjacent fish might mean. But this is I mean, the scale changes throughout. Like this size fish, like the fish here is one where it's very literal and slapstick, where she's being, her flesh is being crushed by a fish who's like out of water. And I haven't yet, because I haven't drawn the comic yet, really interpreted, but I'm super open to doing that, and probably should. Are you suggesting an interpretation?
I mean, I can riff on it, but I don't know if you want me to. I make things up too. I don't know. I wake up in the middle of the night and I listen to Marie-Louise von France, who was a student of Jung, or his acolyte, or his
I would say
protege.
peer even. Yeah, she's a protege, but she wrote so much.
And then I think also that in Jungian analysis, it's depends on you, right? What your relationship is to the fish. We were just talking about the fish, the 7 fishes for the Italian Christmas meal.
What are the 7 fishes of the Italian Christmas?
Jesus, ask a true Italian.
Cod.
Vanessa, you know what?
Lobster.
You're counting the fishes in your head.
Yes. I'm trying to imagine. I've cooked all the fishes with my family. We're Italian.
Sardine, mackerel, bass.
I don't know.
Cod, salmon, perch.
Calamari, lobster, cod.
Those aren't fish.
They're not, Italians. It's fishes. It's just seafood.
Fish-ish.
Like in that one?
This one?
I mean, the eye of the fish, the humor is in that, like the eyeball of the fish.
Yes, fish eyes are incredibly, because they're so otherworldly. Any kind of sea creature's eye, I feel like, is something that has this omniscience, some knowledge of the depths that we will never know and want to know. And so maybe, there's a desire to kind of like, I don't know. I hope I'm not being, reductive of that wonder by making it a funny painting, but I really am fascinated by this unknown thing, and yet it appears so much in a lot of our cultural imagery.
You can't tie up a fish like that. Like, they're so slippery. Like, it's just.
I've never tried. Yeah. So this is why I make paintings.
Unless you're cooking it. Maybe if you're cooking it.
For me, the funniest one, is it's like a painter joke, right? This one over here where the nipple touches whatever that is underneath it, that's behind it, and it's just a visual, like the nipple exactly touches a windshield or something.
No, I think that's probably a fishing pole that's leaned on the back. So in my mind, we're facing the back. Who knows boat terminology? I don't. But the back of the boat, what is that? Stern. Okay. So where all the fishing poles are at is in my mind. That's that side. So that's like that was like a perspective trick to make sure that the fishing
Hilarious.
pole in the background. But in a painting that Kristen Cunningham owns, there's a woman holding, bowing back this other woman, not like fish-like in a way, like her body is very flexible and her nipple almost touches the heater, the gas heater.
Torture. Torture. It's like an almost torture painting.
But she looks kind of cozy there,
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to be struggling.
But I think this nipple touching the fishing pole there is almost like a 7th grade boy joke.
Totally. I'm open to their humor. Complete. There's so much silliness in these, and in Amy's life, and I think that I hope to just make even more like adolescent level sex jokes and like fishing, potentially fishing jokes. Carol, do you have a joke about?
Not handy. No, I was just wondering if you're a fan of comics, because as you were talking, I was thinking of Art Crumb and Aline Kaminsky-Crumb and the kinds of things they do and how absurdist they are.
Yeah, I've never been a comics reader. Only later in life when I thought in my 30s that I was just gonna I don't want to make art anymore. I want to make comics. And to me, those things were separate. And so I started reading and writing really crappy short stories about kind of S&M slapstick. And so I started looking at comics from France and Mexico that had to do with, that were, unfortunately, I couldn't find any women who were making these comics. They were all male artists, but in the 60s and 70s, if you had a big comic book published, you were probably a man. But like Aline Kaminsky-Crumb that was like a revelation, because she put herself there and made her body like the sub, as we all know. And so that was like, I'm still kind of hoping to get to that like rawness at some point, and like maybe my body, I mean, yeah, there's Amy there, and she'll be in certain volumes, but like I would hope that I see myself in all my work, but also in the position of the fish and Amy. But Aline Kaminsky-Crumb, I mean, she just straight up documented her life. So bold. Yeah. But like, so yeah, it's mostly any indie comic where there's like, where the body undergoes something wild is probably something I've seen, but only in the last 10 or 15 years.
I think the 90s were kind of a heyday for like women in indie comics.
Huh.
Julie Doucette, I think.
Oh, yes.
And like,
Yeah.
because of the Hothead Paisan.
I have not seen that. I would like to see
there's
Hothead
a lot of
Paisan.
good stuff from back then, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna look at that. I luckily have a person in New York who Random Man, who's a publisher of like, he makes all the comics. Him and probably someone else, or they and someone else, make them all by hand. And like a lot of the work that he publishes and creates and brings around the world to all these comics fairs are like incredible. And there are a lot of amazing indie comic artists making work now, but I don't know the whole legacy of it. So the 90s, we were just talking about the 90s and zines and stuff. And so, yeah, that's something I'd like to get deeper into too.
We do have some of the comics here. If you want to look at them, I'll bring them out.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you thought that these were so different than the other like large paintings that you were showing at Bab's gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder why you were saying you thought it was a totally different audience. And I'm wondering why you would think that.
I think my experience with the comics has been of a completely, and it's probably just a distribution
But wait,
thing.
which ones do you think are more like the comics?
These.
Because I think those are more like the comics.
The ones at Babs.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Because they're big,
yeah,
but they're like line drawing. And these are more painted.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's really true. That's true. I think I have some, I guess the narrative element is something that makes me think that these are different, whereas those are like, and the physical experience of the scale, obviously, and the ability for maybe just me mentally, I could engage with this and with the comics in a different way than with the large paintings. There's something more immediate to me with them.
With these.
Yeah. I think just the story itself and like the going back and forth between silliness and seriousness or comedy and violence.
Do you not think that's in the other ones?
I do. I actively, I mean, that was a, but I had to there was different effort, the history of.
I'm wondering what the effort is for you to do the different things. Like, how does it make you feel when you're doing one versus the other?
Yeah, I think with the larger work, because of the physical relationship it has with the audience, I wanted to employ color in a different way, so that it was, because their paintings are so much bigger than the body, that I wanted the color to be able to engage and envelop people, and the echo of the contours of the body, that movement really.
But those bodies are closer to a body size.
They're like 1.25 my body.
Yeah.
And so it was something that I feel like the gesture and the color really had to be foregrounded in order to engage with the emotional content that's in these works for sure. But I wanted that experience to be like, not necessarily, I wanted it to be something that what I thought flowed between the audience and the subject of the painting more. Whereas I feel like in these, it's easy just to be like, oh, but this body in these paintings is undergoing something because it's representational more directly with color and things. And so with the other paintings, there's a whole history of painting that
there's an identity with these. This is a person, she's blonde and pale. And the other ones could have been more
whoever.
kind of.
There was
I mean, they
skeletal
still are a
elements,
type,
yeah,
like, you know, female,
that's true.
probably a similar age range, you know,
Right.
like, but it is broader because it's not a very pale, very white girl.
That's true. Yeah, no, this is definitely like this character, and this subject is definitely something that is from the world that I created in the zine, in the comics. And she's just, like I said, a girl from Long Island who's 21 or something.
Would she ever go anywhere else?
Yeah, she's gonna end up in all sorts of non-real places.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, like Mars on a spaceship?
I think, you know, somewhere between. Here
Right.
and
So
there.
is it like similar to Barbie or something, but a different kind of Barbie?
Oh no, I think
Because Barbie goes on an airplane. She goes to the office.
but she's so
she goes
professional.
maybe
Barbie,
she's going to go to Paris.
She's a corporation.
Oh,
you
right.
know?
Sure, but you know what
Amy
I'm
is
saying.
just like couldn't even like she can't even get there right now.
Right,
Like,
right.
Her stylist in her hairdresser in Thrill to Live is just like trying to get her to like see what's going on with her life. And she uses, you know, some means that we might think are, you know, too physical, I should say. But
Oh my goodness.
but she has a realization there in the salon.
I love that.
Did you ever see Married to the Mob where where she's getting her hair done and she's transformed? So the page in my comic where Amy goes to the salon is heavily inspired by the scene where in Married to the Mob where Michelle Pfeiffer gets completely turned into herself,
Okay.
her new self.
Right. Big hair.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that sphere very well, so
Right.
it really touches me.
It's also, I mean, it's not all humor, right? Too. I mean, this is very violent too. I mean, it's like and when you said Long Island, there was an article in the paper today about that serial killer, or they found 2 new bodies. Like,
Did they? Oh man.
Oh yeah.
it was a different murderer, but like there was it was like a baby and a mother had been killed by their father,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean, it just happened to be in the news today. So when you said Long Island, I was like, is it a very violent place? I mean, is it? I mean,
No, I'm from there. It's yeah. I mean, it's just as violent as any other place where there are serial killers.
but is there like a? I mean,
It's like kind of fancy. It's middle class, upper middle class.
it's fancy with like
Suburban.
serial killers.
There's a strata.
Normal.
Depends on where you are in
They
Long
live
Island.
among them.
Serial killers.
It's not all the Hamptons where the art
I think we've
community
got
goes.
like 60 active serial killers in LA.
If you've got civilization, you've got to have it. So,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
They're
But
everywhere.
They
but
can get you at Ralph's parking lot.
in the comics, Amy never is killed. Like there's no murder in this work ever. It's more about like the endurance, but it is super intense. Like her in the comic, like in the salon, she does get, grilled with a crimper, and her boss does fling her on the grill for a second, and her butt gets like burned and things like that. Yeah, there's extreme stuff that happens to Amy's body, but you can do that in comics.
Yeah, so this is just a little bit like those romance novels where the woman gets kidnapped and taken to, the desert in the Middle East, and she's like, tortured and passed back and forth by, whoever on the sands, and marched with a camel, and she doesn't know her name, and she's under the control of some
Wow.
handsome, stranger who's a prince of. I mean, this is this kind of romance novel a little bit.
I don't know what the other side of that, like, unless the subject or the captured person in those stories gets to undergo some transformation, then it would be more like this.
Of course she does.
She does.
Of course.
This is like acceptance.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
Transformed possibly,
yeah,
and they're just
possibly.
accepting it.
Maybe.
I think about how you were talking about disorientation earlier.
Yeah.
And since I've read one of your comics, and I was thinking about how I would describe it to somebody.
because it is very violent. But like reading it as a woman, and I felt it viscerally. And you know how you said that every one of us is Amy? Like, I didn't really remember the narrative so much as like, oh, this horrible thing is happening. She kind of likes it. Like now she doesn't like this. But like it was all confusion because I was feeling like every bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think I didn't really see it as romantic. Like I understand what you're saying about the kind of like we all kind of want like something bad to happen to us, you know?
Not all.
But like the confusion between really terrible, awful things happening and how you deal with them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and all of the complicated feelings that you have about them, like kind of liking it or kind of disliking it and like really hating it, really loving it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that kind of confused. That's what I know from the comics, and so that's how I read the paintings also.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I mean, just think about, you know, the spectrum of storytelling that we experience on a daily basis on many media, all kinds of media. I mean, like there's, yeah, that kind of, the best art to me leaves open this ambiguity and lack of a destination. And so in every single frame or canvas here, I feel like there is room, like we don't know how many, on a very, you know, practical level, we don't know how many things are hitting her. And in some of the comics too, it's completely illogical. Like there's no way that there's this and this happening. But to create art and to suggest an emotional response, or try to elicit, I should say, some emotional response, and to wonder whether you should be completely grossed out or elated, that to me is total success in art making, in any craft. For me, I think that's an amazing achievement to have. Not that I feel like I've done that, but like that's where I aspire to go. And someone like Aline Kaminsky-Crumb, I mean, just like the rawness of it. But what is that rawness made out of? It's these moments where we're like, oh shit, she really was totally abused there, and then she's like popping pimple, you know, like it's just so, you don't know where to go. And that's exactly, you know, I mean, yeah, there's a narrative here and there's something, we don't know exactly what, and I can't say that it's like a completely finished thought. But I think that, you know, that's the direction I'm trying to flow in, is this one. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for reading the comments.
Well, I was wondering, do you use any, like, do you have like one of those drawing wooden models, or do you use any kind of images to draw the body anatomically? Because they are pretty anatomical, even though they have these distortions.
Yeah, thanks. I usually work from myself, taking pictures of me, and I don't use any specific photographic images. I do try to use like not at the actual wooden thing, but there are virtual versions so that I can deal with things like perspective and like what might that look like if the shoulder is like, you know, 3 feet back and the foot is in the foreground, like that kind of stuff. But they're also really wonky and they look really mechanical. So I think it's mostly my imagination, and I've become so familiar with Amy's body that like I can just, you know, see it. You know.
Did you do a lot of figure drawing in the past?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to do any of the work is like hundreds of, you know, you have to see it in order. And like I said, like I don't arrive at a particular composition until I really feel like, oh, you know, that's the distortion I want, or that gets the feeling, and that comes after a lot of drawing. Yeah.
I think you talked about it before, but these two that are kind of in the middle, the very pink ones,
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what's happening in those? Those, for me, seem to be the most violent, but I'm just wondering what they really are, because I can't totally tell.
Yeah, I think so. In this one, there is there's one of the crew on the ship who we haven't seen on the boat. It's not really a ship. It's a large fishing boat. It's about 27 to 30 feet, by the way. Ace is the boat. So there's about 5 people.
Is that like a yacht?
No, it's just a large a sport craft fishing boat.
Okay.
If you ever lived in Long Island, it's like what people have in the yard in their canal.
Okay.
And so a bunch of people, so there's one, and who knows how many outside, has taken a smaller fish compared to the large one. And so they're holding her elbows like so, and she's sitting on the floor of the boat, and they are whacking a large fish into her breast flesh.
Oh, so this person, what is this?
That's their
back
leg.
here?
And so
Somebody
she's
else's
leaning.
leg.
Yeah.
And this is her arm?
This is her arm. This
And then
is
what
their
is
leg.
this?
That's this is her midsection, and these are her shorts. And that's the top of her leg.
Oh, I see it.
She looks pretty chilled out.
Oh, yeah. I
As
see
opposed
it.
to there, yeah.
I see
She's
it.
kind of relaxed. To me, and there's very quietly, I put in, there's a little smile happening. I mean, this is a
Face is very cute.
ridiculous situation.
Right.
And I don't know how much
She's
it would
just being
hurt.
tickled by a fish. Almost.
Well, I don't know how, I've never been hit by
it's
a
whack.
salmon.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Before, so I don't.
And that one there, she's getting like reamed
That's the
by a
tail.
whale.
That's
or
like the
something.
tail of that large
Right.
fish.
Oh, I see it now.
It was just
Where?
So the tail comes out like that.
the tail is
Where?
like no,
It's
this
bent that way.
this is like the fins on the back, and this is like the curve, as
There
if
we
like
go. Yeah.
it's just about to make or just made
That's
contact,
great.
and her butt is
Oh.
like flat. Have
I
you
mean,
ever
this
seen a
looks
time
like she's
lapse?
riding on a tunnel of a big, huge fish. Like
Oh,
coming up
no.
under her, you
oh,
know,
that's so
like-
funny. No, I just put extra contrast on the outline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a slow-mo image of someone being spanked?
No.
Well, if you did, and you paused on a certain moment, you would see that flesh does ripple. Like you can see flesh ripple in that way.
Right.
And so that is that's kind of where I didn't study a video to do this, but in my memory, I can remember that is the type of flapping that occurs.
Right.
The reverberations. And her leg is repeated, like in Cubism, like her leg's repeated, her arm's repeated.
And is someone holding her down, or is that her arm?
No, she's tied, but
Okay.
there must be some people around. I
Yeah.
mean, she looks perturbed by that.
She looks like she's trying hard.
Yeah, I mean, this was, if you're going to agree to be on this boat, this was the situation.
Right.
And
You're gonna look foolish.
She doesn't look foolish.
well, Amy is just all in. She commits to the experience. So she's kind of until later in the story, there's going to be water and Mother Nature and bigger things that come up for her that are going to be surprises.
Next installment.
Yeah, next installment.
So I mean, this intense like physical experience that's very primitive. It just puts her on a level where she doesn't have to think about how she's acting or anything. It's all just instinct,
It's no thinking.
and it's all natural.
It's
like
no thoughts.
just what you're born with, and
You just yes.
Yeah.
It's to put you in that space of like there is no thought. You have to be in this spot right now.
right, an existential. But
It is. That is you have to own the thrill.
I have a question. Is there anyone from the fine art world that has been especially influential on you?
I have been realizing later, but I always thought they were the people who taught me how to paint. Like my first contact with canvas were Susanna Coffey and Lisa Yuskavage, and Matt.
Thinking of Lisa Yuskavage,
And Matvey Levinstein, her husband, Lisa's husband. And so I learned figurative paint. I learned how to paint from those people. And they were also instrumental in like being like, you just you need to. Lisa's thing with younger people was if you're embarrassed, that's good. Like you have to put it all on the line. Like you just that's it. And that was something that someone like, even though John Baldessari, when I was at UCLA, John came through studios. We didn't talk about painting that much, but he was always, talking about like just. He'd always look for the thing that didn't look like anything else, and it looked like risks were being taken. Like he'd like look behind stuff. Some teachers did that as like their thing, but he did it in a way that was just like, go for this. So I think anyone who I'd worked with, who was particularly, who was super explicit about risk taking, was someone who I wanted to align myself with. And Lisa, for sure, I obviously made a lasting impression. The longer I make work, the longer I'm like, oh wow, she was really important to me, and to a lot of people. But who else? Dorothy Iannone. Yeah. Yeah, really love that work. Who else? Oh, Paula Rego. So Susanna Coffey, I was at NYU, and she brought me to Marlborough to see a show of Paula Rego's work. And these, the physical presence of those women was something that and as a young person, 18 or 19, I was like, oh my God, I have the same body. Like I felt really like, that's my body. It's sturdy, it's athletic, and those women, and they don't have to be. And it was the 90s, so like seeing women who look like that was like unheard of. And so she became a huge hero for me. And the way she used storytelling in fine art at that scale with pastel was like a revelation as well. So that I didn't find room in grad school to go in that direction. I think just times had changed. But thank you for that question. Those are the people for sure.
All right. Well, any more?
Thank you.
Anybody? That's it? All right. Well, thank
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Thanks so much.